What's up, and welcome back to Talking Nutrition. Today is episode 52. And I wanted to do a little bit of a recap of the seasons of nutrition. I think we did an episode in December where we kind of talked about like planning for your year, We're now just about halfway into 2023. Don't get me started about that, but okay. But I thought it'd be good to kind of have a checkpoint almost where, hey, let's see where we're currently at. It's June 1st now at the time of this recording. Where are we at? What are the summer goals, and what are some common mistakes I think people do still make? Because we're still kind of thinking, hey, I'm going to do this summer thread like 2 weeks before your vacation and just lose a whole bunch of weight very quick. But it's usually a recipe for disaster. But first of all, Kristine's back today. How are you?
Doing pretty good.
Can't
complain. I went to Texas for some business stuff, met up with my mentor, which was really good. Spent some time with like friends and clients out there. That's pretty much it. Just kind of chugging along, finishing up some mentorships, getting married in a week.
In a week. Cool. Y'all like ready?
Yeah.
You gonna have like a big happening or kind of like low key?
No, there's like 50 people.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's
usually
like still a big group,
weddings, big weddings, they're usually like 150, 200. Like my sister's had like 200 at theirs. So
yeah, okay. Yeah, now that you mentioned it, we actually went to
we're
one of the
not
big
doing
ones
that. Yeah, I'm like, we're not doing that. Yeah.
That's cool. That's awesome. It's good for you. I'm excited for you. That's cool.
Thanks. What about you?
So about me. Yeah, for just working, No, it's been good. Like I feel like it's it's busy as hell, but it's exciting and it's very doable. Like now I got like all the back end stuff just in place, so no more like website building and shit. So that's actually really good. Training has been really good. I definitely spent like the first kind of like 4 or 5 months of the year really being in a weird spot, like not really wanting to go, kind of skipping leg day a little bit every now and then. And but now it's been good since like the last 2 weeks or so. It's been really picked up, which partly I will say has been because of the Momentum May challenge that we were doing in our Facebook group. That's really helps me kind of get my shit back together too, So it's cool. It's cool. I'm feeling good. It's snowing still.
Yeah, I did Murph on Monday, and like I haven't done anything like that in so long. Like just volume wise, right? Just so much. So I did it. I didn't do it for time or anything. But I woke up Tuesday, I was sore. And then yesterday I was so sore. I could like barely move. Like I had major DOMs. Like I couldn't even like lift my arm. I was like, oh, like my adductors were just so sore. Today I'm still sore, but I can actually be like somewhat functional. Like I could not work out yesterday. I was like, no, not happening.
Shit. Yeah. I'm actually, so I'm going to change up my training a little bit now, and I'm actually going to partly be working out at a CrossFit gym, which I'm actually doing kind of like a collaboration with now, which is really cool, which actually should be, no, it's getting announced tomorrow. So by the time this airs, we're good. But either way, I'm going to incorporate a little bit more functional stuff, Functional, what I mean?
It's good to switch
type
things
of training, Yeah, it is a good. It's like your training program,
Yeah.
No, I like that. It's good to change it up. I just kind of need that too, I'll still go to like the global gym, but I like that, variety, and I do gotta get my cardio back together.
Yeah. I was just before we got on, I was writing up a post about how like routine switch and like, scenery change and all that can help with motivation. Because I think obviously routine's very important, but we get so in routine, so robotic that we can see a dip in that motivation. We can see a dip in like creativity, energy, all of that. And I think that's something that people often overlook. When they're feeling like that and they're trying to like figure it out. I'm like, well, have you switched things up lately? And I've had conversations with clients, like 2 clients recently, actually 3 I've had this conversation with. And like me, myself, I did this recently where like I was training at home and like it was becoming so hard. And I feel lucky that I have, the gym here that I have, but it was just getting like so hard. I couldn't figure it out. And then Eric's like, why don't we like go just like work out at Crunch? So we got like a membership for $25 and that reignited that spark.
Great.
And I just loved going. Like it's this new scenery change. Like I'm doing some different things. And like I do that with my training. Like I will have times where like I'm doing bodybuilding. I'll have times where I'm doing more running. And like we're just trying to be healthy, right? And so any movement is good. And if you're really lacking that motivation, I think switching it up can be helpful.
For sure. That's what I've done over the years. I mean, I've gone in and out of CrossFit like 3 times, I think. Running too, which I guess I'm just not built for that. I don't know. I just always get injured. I always mess up my knee.
Do you go too much too quickly, do you think?
Yeah, also.
Yeah.
Also. So I do tend to really go like all in on something,
Yeah.
But then with the last time I went out of CrossFit, I just burned out, we talked about this, but burned out, kind of went into more like a power building kind of program, which was nice. But it was with, Juggernaut.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I used their app and I don't know if it was me setting it or it's just their volume, but it was ridiculous. It was like a 2-hour leg day. I couldn't keep up with that anymore.
I just don't have the mental capacity to be in the gym that long. I'm like, I don't want to be there that long.
And I got shit to do, you know what I mean? Like, So that got too much. And then I switched to just bodybuilding. And I really like that. And it's been nice now, you know, but I feel now like I gotta change it up a little bit again. But also kind of getting ready for summer, hiking and stuff, which leads into today's topic. So we wanted to talk about summer goals, how we kind of go about planning for that, planning for breaks, diet breaks, even just mini like refeed days, if we go out for a couple of days, but just going in with the right expectations, I think is important. And also because you mentioned you got a couple of questions about that, like how do you do that when you travel, when you go out, when you went to Texas, for example, like how do we manage our nutrition? What are some useful things for people to do? And I got a question in our group about this from Caitlin, which really ties into this exact topic. So I wanted to talk about that in a little bit too. But first of all, right? So if we think summer goals, do we feel like we should be doing like a quick diet, or should we just kind of be ready and just kind of there already, like months ahead?
Ideally months ahead. Just to be able to like not stress as much and enjoy the season. There are people who diet, but it's more so like I have people dieting right now.
Me too.
But it's not like super strict, I would say. Like we have like, just because of the events and all that stuff popping up, and you have to go into it with that expectation of like, okay, this might take longer than if we were doing it in like a season before summer. But that's something to think about before you go into it. But ideally, I would say, you're if you want to be leaner for the summer, you do that in the earlier months, and then now you would be transitioning more into maintenance.
Yeah, I think we never want to rush stuff anyway, and it's still cool diet. I have a bunch of people now getting towards kind of like the end, like the last 4-week kind of block, or already reversing right now. But again, it just depends. I mean, Caitlin, for example, who submitted the question, she's actually starting her cut like this week. But then has a bunch of stuff coming up already. So either way, like it's going to be different. But I guess long story short, like I think it's good to at least be not like super far away from like where we want to be for the summer, so that we can also kind of like go into it, like you said, being a little bit more flexible, like not maybe going too hard, because I mean, the month of May was, in Norway at least, there's just, holidays like every fucking weekend.
Yeah.
There's like there's like a day, and I never follow those kind of things, so I never know. And then all the stores are closed again. And then my girlfriend's like, yeah, it's like whatever day, I'm like, huh, again?
Yeah.
Okay. But either way, so people have a lot of events, a lot of stuff, social settings, I mean, it did still snow to date on June 1st, but people are going out a little bit more often, outside. So it does become a little bit more difficult. And if there's one thing that I see in our group as well, in a coaching or group coaching program, is that it's always kind of like the social settings and these kind of weekends and those moments, like that's where we kind of start to worry a little bit, where we step away from, okay, I'm home weighing on my food. What do we do now, So let me actually bring up this question. Is that Rose or Stormy?
Oh,
or maybe I'm just hearing ghosts.
Oh, there's painters that are going to be like painting outside, and Stormy's growling. Hold on, let me close the door.
Yeah, you're good. Dogs in the background.
Yeah.
Okay. No, so I got this question from Caitlin. She says, I'm starting my first week cutting now, today, basically. I have a 4-day vacation this weekend, being thrown into it, the fire already. Gotta love it. I'll be with family in an Airbnb, so I'm able to take some of my preferred foods, and I will even be in charge of cooking some of our meals. If it's a shorter trip like this, what's the best approach to stay on track? Should I still accurately track? Only focus on protein, no tracking at all, etc. In addition to that, what about longer 7 to 10 day vacations? What approach is better for those longer durations? So let's start with the shorter one. Like, how would you go about that?
Well, I bring the client in on the decision because they know best what things are going to look like. So like we could go in and say, okay, maybe we're going to track, but just track like calories and not be so strict with like composition of macros, but have like those pillars of protein at every meal, right? So you could go into something like that. Personally, like I would say not to track. And again, have those pillars of like, okay, what are my days going to look like? I can have protein at every meal, stock up on water, when I get there. Like, for example, I just went to Texas and I pretty much laid out everything that I did on my Instagram. If you guys want to check it out under travel nutrition. So what I did was I went and got like right when I got there, like right off the plane, I went to the grocery store and I got breakfast food. So I was making my breakfast every day at the Airbnb. So she sounds like it sounds like she can do that where she can have breakfast at the Airbnb. It's even better, like she's in charge of cooking some of the meals. So like she could just ask them, okay, like, would you guys want me to cook you breakfast every morning? And then maybe like some days we go out lunch and dinner, and then, or some days I cook lunch and breakfast and we go out for dinner. Just things like that. So like you're still, your choices and your actions are still aligning with you wanting to feel good, which is important to think about. You want to feel good. So what's that balance look like to you? Making some meals, going out for some, stocking up on the water, still if you go for walks, like getting out in the morning when everyone else is sleeping, going for a walk, like just things like that. So I more or less would focus on that and how you want to feel versus actually tracking your macros and like worrying about that and stressing about that, because it just can become so complicated, truthfully. Like when you're eating out and like there's just there's just such a huge, it could be a huge margin of error there that it's not even like worth the tracking. So, and I think it's important to just, practice that intuitive eating and be present with who you're with and not worry about tracking and worry about numbers.
Definitely. I think every time like someone goes on a trip like that and they get a little worried, I'm always kind of like excited because I know they're about to learn something, Like I know, okay, cool. This is one of those things that we absolutely should be diving into. Because I mean, as for tracking, I usually recommend not to. And if they really want to, then maybe calories of protein.
Yeah.
But I've seen, I would say half of the people who decide to track change their minds on the trip.
Yeah.
And be like, you know what?
Yeah.
It's like,
it's exactly what happens.
Yeah, I tried and, fuck it. Like, it's kind of like, whatever. Which I'm actually happy with. But I always have people decide because I told her too. And I mean, we literally just did a call about this, but I kind of laid it out, right? It's kind of like, okay, what's important right now? Yes, we're in cut currently, but is it worth those 4 days trying to be in a calorie deficit or not? There's no right or wrong there, right? If someone wants to, okay, cool. All we can do is try, Maybe we want to focus on habits, the same ones that you mentioned, your water, your steps, those kind of things. Those are all still things that we can do. But I think like as long as we go into it kind of with a plan, and that plan could literally be like 3 basics to just, check for the day. But if we do that, instead of expecting kind of like the being away with the family for 4 days to be the exact same scenario as I'm at home weighing on my food, et cetera, and stress about it, like not being like that, like, we want to go in with the right expectations, and it's going to be different. It's going to be more flexible. And personally, I think especially those moments, it's all about just trying something, and it's going to be different for a lot of people. But as long as we go in with a plan, we say, okay, this is what we're going to try. We're going to then proactively try to hit that. And it could be super simple, right? Then once we're back from the trip, let's reflect. Let's look at, hey, cool, how did it go? Same way as with the daily or the weekly check-ins, like what went well, what can we learn, right? Is there anything we want to change for next time, and how will we do that? Because that's the thing. That's all we got to do going on a vacation like that, whether it's a short one or a long one or a weekend even. If we go in with the plan, we reflect, we learn. That's how you win, It's never like failing. I think it's about just testing something, collecting the data, getting that feedback, and then either doing the same thing or trying something new next time. And then eventually you figure it out.
Yeah, I don't think that like there's really a difference between like short and long. I mean, you can handle them very similarly. I think different travel is going to look different each time. Like if you have an Airbnb or if like you're just staying in a hotel or like, what it's going to look like, but you can still go in with some sort of plan. Like I'm on a cut. I'm in like the last few weeks, I was technically on a cut when I went to Texas, but I wasn't in a cut when I was there. And I think it's important to remember that, like, how do I word this? Like my thought process is like, I'm not the person that's like going on stage or like, this is like a super serious thing. Like, and I think we can take it a little too far sometimes and like miss out on experiences and being present with people. And like I'm at restaurants and there's these gluten, like I can't have gluten. So like there's all this like awesome gluten-free food. And I'm like, I'm not missing out on this experience to like try these foods because I'm supposed to be in a cut, but yet I'm still mindful and intentional. So I'm eating those foods. I'm still eating protein and vegetables in each meal. They're delicious meals. And then like I share dessert with whoever I'm with, or like we share appetizers. So that right there, you're still being intentional and mindful. You're still allowing yourself flexibility. you're still enjoying these experiences and this food. Like, I'm not going to say no to something because I'm on a cut, just to lose like a few pounds. Like, okay, I'll extend the cut if I need to later on. But I think it's so important to not pass on those experiences or look at it as if like you're off track or like you're making a mistake or anything like that. So yeah, I just want to talk about that because I feel like people can start to feel guilty when they are doing nothing wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going in with the right expectations and not assuming it to be perfect, because it's not going to be perfect, Mm-hmm. And the cool thing is that it doesn't have to be. And as you mentioned, like, we don't work with people who go on stage, or we don't go on stage for like a bodybuilding show. We don't have these deadlines,
Yeah.
Which is great. And of course, I will say, if we plan for a cut and maybe those, like more flexible, like special moments, like aside, when we are in those phases, we do want to make it count, But it's okay if something goes a little bit slower than planned, because we add something like a weekend where we go away for 4 days, or where we take a diet break and you just cut a little bit longer afterwards, as long as it's planned for before.
And it's so normal to come back. This is interesting though, because it's very, very normal to come back from a trip and like be up in weight, right? From travel, from different foods. But during my stay there, even with eating more calories, I still came back like a pound under from where I started. And honestly, I truly believe it's because like it wasn't just this free for all. Like, I was still enjoying desserts. I was still enjoying appetizers. I didn't drink. I don't drink. So that, changes things. But regardless, I really stayed up on my hydration. So I was having like 3 liters of water a day. I was still staying up on my movement. And so I still kept to my routine, and I really just wanted my digestion to be in a good place. And I wanted to feel good when I came home. Those were like 2 things that were really important to me, and that I kept in my mind the entire time when I was making my decisions. And I came home and I weighed like a pound less, and I'm like, holy crap. See, like this stuff is doable, even with eating more, even with, eating stuff that I don't normally eat. And it was because of those other, things that I had in place. I was still prioritizing protein. I was still prioritizing veggies. I was still prioritizing water, movement, et cetera, et cetera. So it is doable, to have that flexibility and come home feeling good.
Yeah. Takes a little bit of time to get to that point.
And trust me, I always in the past have dealt with digestive issues coming home from vacations, like always. And I know like a lot of people do. So if you're that person, like you may have to be more intentional. Like if you truly want to come home feeling good, you definitely have to be more intentional. And yeah, it does take time to get to that place for sure. You're going to learn every time you travel.
That's another thing too, where we do need to mention is, I think we're going to be a little bit more flexible, but we're not going to eat like an asshole for a week straight either. Because that's the thing too. And this is a mindset thing that we need to learn again. I know it's not as easy as, okay, I'm going to decide now to be able to do this stuff perfectly. I think in the beginning, especially, a lot of people are still going to have the idea of, hey, I'm going to go on my vacation. I'm going to enjoy a little bit extra because now I have the opportunity. You know what I mean? And yes, we want to be more flexible, but there also needs to be something where there's something in place where we still have the basics to kind of focus on. And we are at least aware of, hey, when we do kind of go all out, there are consequences, Mm-hmm. But we can mitigate that by focusing on those basics. And that's what I did on tour as well. I think this was like last year. I did a few tours. One, I tracked and I cut, and it went great. I came back home from tour lighter. So that worked. I didn't do like a single like weigh in or anything with my body weight. I didn't weigh any food. I still managed. I just eyeballed it. But it was a lot of extra work, you know. It was a little bit tedious, and you know, do you need to do it? Well, I tried, and I then decided like, hey, you know, actually, I don't really want to do that next time. And the next time I didn't, and it was fine. You know, I just maintained. And to my point of kind of like testing something and then learning from that, I have a client who's in the band, and they tour a lot. So he went on tour 3 weeks ago for 2 weeks. He just started his cut like just before like last month, I think, and from the top of my head. But he was like, okay, cool. Like I'm gonna try and cut. You know, I'm gonna try and track, try to be in a deficit, see how it goes. I told him, hey, cool. If you want to try that, sure. There are other ways to go about this, but let's give it a shot. Let's see how we do. Well, schedule is crazy. A lot of time sitting in the van. Food is very irregular, and you know, like a lot of like outside of your control, like a lot of crazy like travel, you know, schedule. So ended up being a little too overwhelming. You know, he didn't get as many workouts in as he wanted. But it's like, well, sure, but you're also kind of like not getting enough sleep, and the schedule is too crazy. Like it makes sense that it's more difficult to get those things in. So we got back from that trip, or he did. 2-week tour. Okay, cool. We're dialing things back in now. The next couple of weeks, he's going to be at home, weighing his food, going to the gym, etc. And then after that, he has another 2-week tour. But now we're going to go in with a different plan, because we did try to cut, and he did notice, hey, it was a little overwhelming. It didn't go as planned. Okay, cool. Now we're just going to try something else. So we're going to go for almost like a intuitive kind of like maintenance kind of trial, I guess, where we're just going to focus on a couple basics and we see how that goes.
Yeah, I had a client that was same type of thing. Like, well, she's like traveling, then she's home for a bit. She's traveling, she's home for a bit. Yeah. So we're almost like doing Matador. We're like, so Matador is like, you cut 2 weeks, you take 2 weeks off. You cut 2 weeks, you take 2 weeks off. But we're doing it just like different timelines. So like, she's going to cut when she's at home. She's going to go in maintenance when she's on vacation. She's going to cut when she's back. So it's going to take a longer period of time, but you can get best of both worlds there. So yeah, there's so many. And one thing I wanted to add to that was like, if there is one thing that I recommend everyone do, is go into your travel and go in with, how do I want to feel while I'm there? How do I want to feel when I come home? Then when you're there and you're doing your thing and you're out for dinner, how's this meal going to make me feel? Right? Just check in with yourself. That's like, if you don't do anything else, that's what I want you to do. Just constantly check in with yourself. How is this meal that I'm about to order going to make me feel? How is this next drink going to make me feel? Right? And you can same type of thing. How is this, I don't know, if I miss this workout, like, how am I going to feel? Right? Like, just different things like that. It can help a lot with your decisions in the moment.
It's so good to have that awareness. And again, you do need to remind yourself, but that's such a good point that you brought up, because I think when we do that and we kind of sit down, we kind of know already how it's going to feel afterwards, And we all know those days where we did kind of go all out, where we had too many drinks or too much of whatever food, or we kind of had the food that we knew our digestive system doesn't really do well with, or whatever it is, we have to live with the consequences then. But like, we kind of know ahead of time already, I think. And it's cool to make more flexible decisions. That's totally fine. But it's about kind of like, okay, how many are we making throughout the day? How many like better choices are we making that do benefit, feeling good in that moment, but also afterwards, so that you don't come home from your trip feeling like shit. And now you have to cut for another extra couple of weeks just to make up for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and you don't feel
there's
great. So
yeah, there's like moments on my trip where I'm like, okay, like I'm eating like this meal is definitely very calorically dense, high fat. And I'm like, this probably like I'm checking and I know myself. I'm like, oh, this probably isn't gonna make me feel that great, like following this. But I also am not missing out on this opportunity. So I'm gonna eat this food. And then in the morning, I'm gonna drink a bunch of water and I'm gonna go for a walk. So like it can go that way too. Like be honest with
yeah,
yourself. Like, yeah, this probably won't make me feel good, but I want to be in this moment. I want to experience this. But to get myself back to feeling good, I'm going to do this.
yeah, that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those kind of things are often like this shit like never gets brought up. You know what I mean? When it comes to like people trying to lose body fat or chase whatever goal, it's kind of like no, okay, like we need to be aware of our choices and just be proactive because everything you just mentioned is all proactive. It's not reactive. Yeah. It's not that you went on your trip and you're like, oh shit, okay, so what am I gonna have for food? And I'll just eat whatever. And okay, my water. Okay, mm-hmm. I guess I'll drink some water every now and then. Like no, it's like proactive. You go in with a plan, and that way you get to enjoy that trip to the fullest. You made better choices while feeling good, right? Flexible choices too. And then when you're back, you're glad you did that. You're glad you went on that trip proactively, got the most out of it, and that you still feel good,
Yep.
What do you think? Want to wrap it up for the week?
Yeah, I think that's good.
I think we covered everything that we wanted to chat about. Do you have any other updates you want to share with us, with the listener?
I don't think so.
Awesome. Then I will talk to you very soon, Kristine, probably in just about 2 weeks from now. Mm-hmm. Have a great rest of your month or the first half of June. And to the listener, I will see you next week.